Are you feeling stuck in life or know someone who feels this way? Here are 8 tips to break free from feeling stuck and embrace new opportunities. Number 1, self reflection. You want to take time to reflect on your values, goals, and aspirations, and consider what brings you joy and fulfillment, and identify areas where you feel stagnant or unfulfilled. Number 2, embrace change. Recognize that change is a natural part of life and can lead to personal growth and transformation. Be open to trying new experiences, exploring new interests, and stepping outside of your comfort zone. Number 3, set goals. You want to define clear and achievable goals that align with your values and aspirations. Break down larger goals into smaller, actionable steps and make them more manageable and attainable. That's something I actually teach my coaching clients. A lot of times we don't take action because we have these huge goals that seem unattainable. But when you break them down into steps, it makes it a lot easier. You relieve stress and you don't feel stagnant. You don't procrastinate that way. Okay. Number 4, seek support. You want to surround yourself with a supportive network of friends, family members, mentors, and professionals, even coaches such as myself, who can offer guidance, encouragement, and perspective as you navigate through life's transitions. Also, know that this is normal. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a normal transition in life. At some point, we all feel stuck. Cultivate resilience. Develop resilience by viewing challenges as opportunities for growth and learning. Embrace setbacks as temporary obstacles and focus on finding creative solutions and moving forward. Number 6, practice self-care. Again, practice self-care. You want to prioritize your physical, emotional, and mental well-being by engaging in self-care activities that nourish and rejuvenate your mind, body, and spirit. And number 7, stay curious. Maintain a sense of curiosity and wonder about the world around you. Keep learning and exploring new interests and challenging yourself to expand your knowledge and perspective. Number 8, celebrate. Celebrate progress. You want to acknowledge and celebrate your achievements, like those little small steps towards your goals that you set for yourself. Reward yourself after each achievement, regardless how small. You want to celebrate milestones and accomplishments because this can boost your confidence and your motivation to continue moving forward. All in all, by incorporating these tips into your lives, as we age, you can break free from feeling stuck and embrace new opportunities, and unfortunately, feeling stuck sometimes is a natural part of aging because life is pushing us out of our comfort zone into the next stage. Now, as you're embracing these new opportunities, remind yourself that this is a part of gaining personal growth, fulfillment, and renewed happiness. And remember, it's never too late to create the life that you desire. If you're ready to go deeper and do the work, here are 2 book suggestions for you to check out. Now, full disclosure, I have not read these books, but I did find them on Amazon. Now, the first book is U-Turn, Changing Direction in Midlife, over 40 stories of people over 40, written by Nancy Uren. Now, in the book, she shares the inspiring stories from a diversity of real people who started a new path, and it will motivate you. It will motivate you to do the same. The second book, Getting Unstuck, How Dead Ends Become New Paths, written by Timothy Butler. And of course, I am available to become your accountability partner and coach. Basically, I help you rediscover your new path, rediscover maybe forgotten or old dreams that you let go along the way in life. But basically, coaches don't give you answers. We help you to discover your own answers, what you already know that might be hidden inside you. So try out these 8 tips and maybe check out the books or reach out to me for coaching and get unstuck. Robin Smith is an award-winning speaker and leading trauma and relationship coach for women and founder of the Rock Your Relationship movement. She was inspired by her thriving marriage of over 20 years to help thousands of women transform from frustrated to fulfilled by creating deeper, loving, and conscious connections for greater life satisfaction and happiness. Robin helps her clients unwind the layers of complex trauma and dysfunctional patterns that have interfered with their ability to enjoy ease and harmony in their relationships with others and themselves, so that they can feel connected, happy, and whole. So we'll discuss why healthy communication is so important, what happens when you have it, and what gets in the way. And Robin will share her 3 keys to improve your communication. Robin, thank you so much for joining us.
Totally a pleasure, Sunita. Thank you for having me today.
So tell me, what is possible when you have good communication in your relationships, and why is this so important?
It's so important. I think so many women realize how frustrating it can be when they're not communicating, they're not feeling heard, they're not feeling understood. You feel like, they're going crazy, because at least I did my earlier relationship, because it was like we're missing each other. So what's possible when you actually have this healthy, conscious, effective communication happening is you get to feel more connected to each other. You feel, because you're feeling heard, because you're feeling understood, you can relax knowing that's happening, because that's just an essential, human need, to feel gotten, to feel seen, heard, and understood. And you'll feel closer because you know they're getting you. And you're not having to work as hard to have that. So when the communication is online, it's just flowing. It's not like it's always perfect, but you're going to just feel like you can put your attention on other things besides trying to get heard and understood. You can put your attention on enjoying each other, having fun, talking about having interesting conversations and whatever else is important.
And what are some of the main communication pitfalls that you see with your clients?
Yeah, well, for one, there are a lot, and I'm sure everyone can throw in some comments below about what your big one is for you. But the ones I see are blame and criticism and power struggles and defensiveness. So let's break those down just a little bit. Blaming looks like you did it, it's your fault, it's always about you and what you're doing wrong. So that pointing the finger outside towards the other person, looking for fault. And then, blame causes more arguments, more distance. Blame can lead to defensiveness. So no one likes to get blamed. So that never goes well. Criticism is attacking someone's person. You're saying, you're so stupid. What were you thinking? How could you have done that? Why aren't you, more mindful? Why aren't you, whatever it is? And so you're attacking who they are, how they are, things like that. And of course, again, people are going to get defensive. They're going to feel attacked. They're going to want to maybe attack back. So that never goes on. And then we have these power struggles where it's like, I don't do it. You did it. You did it. Well, if you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have done that. And just going back and forth. And I remember like it's so exhausting to do that. And so it just doesn't feel good. Trying to one up somebody or trying to write, you don't get harmony to do that. You get an escalation. And then I mentioned defensiveness, which is like you're trying to protect yourself. If you feel attacked, you're going to put up a wall, you're going to attack back, you're going to explain yourself, try to make sure you're not going to get hurt. And so, again, that creates a feeling of distance and separation to your partner when probably what most people really want is protection, more closeness, more ease. And so these are the big ones. Blame,
Okay.
power struggles.
So, what gets in the way of healthy communication?
Ooh, well, all of that, right? Those are those pitfalls, and then it's like, well, where does it really start? So, what I look at in my work as a trauma and relationship coach is that a lot of this starts early in life. We learn certain communication styles. I was just hearing a client talk about that today. It's like my father was always putting me down, so I find myself putting other people down. Um, I always felt defensive in my family because I was getting compared to my siblings or I wasn't getting what I needed. So then I'm still being defensive. So we have these patterns that start in early life and they often just continue unless we make a concentrated effort to change them. So some other examples might be like you were put down a lot, you were belittled, you were made to be unimportant because maybe you had five other siblings and nobody gets enough attention. Or maybe you were always compared to your big sister who got A's and you got C's and you go, what's wrong with you? Why can't you be her? And you feel bad about yourself. And then your strategy might be to try and do better, to try and be smarter, or to try and just say, forget it, I'm just not going to try. And then you become a rebel and say, forget it, I'm just not going to try. You might be, if you were feeling like you were attacked, you were not getting supported, you were being ridiculed, humiliated, then you might be on high alert. You might be like looking for that person who's going to get you. You don't feel safe. So you have a lot of reactivity and you're easily reactive, easily offended, easily attacking someone else, arguing, protecting yourself. So those are some examples. Others might be that people were betraying you, they weren't reliable, they weren't showing up like they were supposed to. You might feel trusting, and so you bring that forward into your relationships. When's the other shoe going to drop? When are you going to betray me next? And so you've got this kind of energy that you're holding, and all of that can affect your communication. You can imagine examples hopefully.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
does awareness of your patterns help? Like, do you find that that helps your clients to change?
Awareness is the beginning, but we can be aware but not be able to change because these patterns run so deeply, and a lot of them are rooted in fear, and they can also be rooted in just the nervous system, how we got wired based on this environment. So we need more than awareness. We need to understand it, but we also need, the way I work is very body centered. So and I work a lot with the emotional level too of who we are. So as we actually work through some of the old feelings, which might be grief and sadness, fear and anger, the difficult feelings, that's when things start to shift. And we feel lighter, we feel, oh, it wasn't all my fault, or not really anything wrong with me, or I can actually be okay, even if my world is perfect, even if I'm not perfect, so we can let go of some of that tension that we're holding, some of that like defensiveness that we've got going on, or that anger that's kind of under the surface all the time.
Okay. Please share your 3 key communication tips.
You bet. So I'm gonna say to begin that these tips are foundational. So when I consider these as like laying the foundation for more specific techniques that I offer, and you'll learn how you can get those other techniques in it. But so I want to start with eye contact. So right now I took my notes the way I'm making best eye contact I can with you, Sunita, because it really changes how we connect, right? And so often in our culture, we've got the phone, we're taking notes, whatever we're doing, that our eyes are diverted. And especially in important conversations, if we don't have the eye contact, it's really hard to listen. It's actually listening And the what you're doing now, the nodding, like that's another body language thing that helps me know that, okay, you're following me, you're getting me. And these natural cues that we pick up on, beyond words are so essential for feeling connection. So I wanted, that's like number one. And it seems basic, but most people kind of forget about it because we live in this world where we're multitasking all the time, and we forget the value of texting all the time. We forget the value of actually being like with somebody and in 2 years really. And I always like to say too that if eye contact is hard for you, if you're somebody who feels like you've got to look around a lot and it's really hard to make eye contact, like please don't give yourself a hard time. That can actually stem from really early childhood trauma or infancy trauma. And so it can take some time to get through that and to be more comfortable with eye contact. So just, be gentle with yourself if that's true for you, and you can grow into being more and more at ease with the intensity that eye contact. Yeah. Okay. So number two is consent. And this is kind of a buzzword lately, and I think that's great because consent is really important to feel empowered and to feel like you matter and your needs matter. And so when I say consent for communication skills and setting the foundation, it's like, again, when you have an important conversation that you want to have, you want to make sure somebody is actually open to it. They're available physically. They're not, exhausted. They're not starving. They're not like having to pee. They're not like having to do 10 other things. So they're physically available. You want to make sure they're emotionally available, that they have bandwidth to actually hear you, be present for what you want to say. So getting consent is like, hey, can we have this conversation? Do you have 30 minutes tonight or tomorrow? And we have, ask me for when that can happen. So that they're saying yes to it. You're not just springing it on them when they walk in the door, like, hey, I got to talk to you. You got to sit down. And they're like, well, I can't feel. I just had a hard day. So consent is like both people coming together with a yes, a willingness, an openness, and then, it lays the foundation for a lot of it.
Got it. And I feel that consent also kind of gives you a little bit of time to decompress. If your partner isn't ready to talk for another 2 hours, probably gives you a little bit of time to mull over what you don't want to say, to probably incite anger, and kind of calms you down as well, depending upon the topic. So would you say that a lack of communication is the core issue of why relationships aren't lasting or don't last?
Honestly, I don't think it's the core issue. I think it's more like what rises to the surface. It's what we're most aware of. Mm-hmm. And communication certainly is one of the biggest complaints I hear from people in my world. Like, we're not communicating. I don't feel him. He's talking over me. He doesn't get me. I feel like we're in a different world. These are common complaints. But I think there's some deeper stuff, the stuff I'm pointing to. Like, I had a couple today I was working with, and it seemed to them like it was about, like, he's not doing what I want him to do, which is the dishes and on his phone or watching a movie. I'm doing all this stuff, right? This is a common meal. And when we got under the surface, that was not the problem. The problem was more about trust and about her anxiety and why she needs him to be doing everything 5 months ago, and his like not being willing to really speak up for what he wants for himself, and always doing what he thinks she wants. And so that's just one example, but a lot of people have these older patterns that are driving. That's what I want to point to with the early trauma stuff. It's like we come in with our patterns, with our concepts of like, I'm like this, the world's like that, and I'm not enough.
And the third tip?
Yeah, so the third tip I call reflective listening. So this is when you say back or you summarize what you just heard. And this is, I'm not saying you should do this every time someone says a sentence, that you say it back, because that would get tedious, but when it counts, when someone's really wanting to make sure they're understood, you want to make sure you're understanding them, you just easily repeat back, well, what I think I heard you say was, is that right? And then they can correct you or say, yes, thank you. And that it gives a great sense of, okay, we're together, you're with me, people can relax, they know they're getting heard. And the alternative is so often people not feeling heard because someone's interrupting, someone's changing the topic, they're, they're accusing you of something, they're not really taking in your words. So this reflective listening can go a really long way.
So I know you have a free communication training that's coming up. Please tell us more about it and how my audience members can find it.
You bet. I'm happy to. So the communication training is called the Rock Your Relationship Free Communication Training. It's a 4-day training with 2 extra bonus classes. And what I love about it is it's super interactive. So it's not just me, a talking head, and you're watching a video. It's actually in the room together, questions, I coaching moments, and I give you assignments to take home and practice. So practice this technique, come back and talk about it or ask a question. So I'm helping you actually learn in real time. And you're going to get, and anyone who attends the training will get techniques beyond the foundational skills I gave you today. So you can work with stuff like what we talked about, blame and criticism, listening skills, how to have a difficult conversation, how to, avoid the defensiveness or express what you need, work with boundaries, actually make a closer connection. So that's what these skills are about: getting heard, getting understood, and getting more connected. So I hope you guys come. It's amazing. I've done this for hundreds and hundreds of women over the last several years. Probably thousands. It can be life-changing, honestly, for people who even just come to that. They're like, I actually got heard for the first time. I actually didn't get overreactive when my teenage daughter said such and such, or I actually finally asked for what I needed and my husband heard me and I felt we really dropped in together. So a lot can happen in just a few days that really show up.
Wonderful. So where would people go to find out more about your programs?
Yeah. So that training is on my website at robinsmith.net, robinwithY.net. We're going to put a link here so you guys can just click right to the training and sign up and get your seat. And at robinsmith.net, you should see a link to that as well. And save your spot. It's coming up very soon after this is aired. So I really hope you will all take advantage of that.
Okay, perfect. And if someone goes to your site and they see that they can't make the date for the next one, how often do you do your free trainings?
I never make promises about this because my life is ever unfolding, but it could be that I do it again in the fall. I often do it spring and fall, but I don't always, because life isn't set and who knows what's coming down. So,
okay.
Well, I do know for sure it's happening coming up this spring. And, if you don't see the training, like you totally miss it, you'll see there's an opportunity for a checklist with me or some other.
Okay.
And so the training will be live, but there will be some replays you can catch if you can't make the live sessions. So definitely don't let that stop.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Robin, for joining us today. And let's get the ladies out there in loving communication, communicative relationships, so they're happy and fulfilled and there's fewer arguments.
Absolutely.
No stress.
More peace, less stress, connection. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sunita. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.